What if you never had to reach for your wallet again? Imagine this. You're in a coffee shop. It's early. The sun is just starting to warm the pavement outside. The air smells like roasted beans and warm sugar. You order your usual, a large black coffee. The barista nods, turns to the machine, and a moment later, a perfect cup is sliding across the counter toward you. You reach out, take it, and just leave. There's no fumbling for a credit card, no tapping your phone. As you walked in, a small discreet camera above the door scanned your face. As you ordered, another one, nestled right on the cash register, confirmed your identity. The transaction was over before the foam settled on someone else's latte. Your bank account was debited, your loyalty points were added. Effortless, seamless, a perfect, frictionless future. Now, hold that feeling for a second. The warmth of the cup, the ease of it all. And now, imagine you need to disappear. Just for an hour. To be an anonymous face in a crowd, a nobody. Imagine realizing you can't. Hello there. It's late where I am. The city is finally quiet, and it's in these quiet moments that our minds tend to wander, isn't it? We poke at the edges of the world we know, and we ask, what if? Where are you watching from tonight? What time is it there? I hope, wherever you are, you found a comfortable space for this. These stories, these little journeys into the strange futures that hum just beneath the surface of our present, they're best shared in the quiet. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you enjoy these thought experiments, maybe consider subscribing. It's just a quiet click, but it means this little studio, this small corner of the internet, can continue to exist. No pressure. Tonight's thought experiment isn't about flying cars or distant planets. It's about something that's already here, silently weaving itself into the fabric of our lives. We've been sold a story about facial recognition, a story about safety, about catching the bad guys, about making everything easier. But let's be honest with each other, in this quiet space. What we're really talking about is the end of anonymity, the final death of the stranger in the crowd. And that future, if it were to ever fully arrive, wouldn't be a utopia. It would be a quiet, creeping nightmare. It didn't begin with a boot stomping on a human face forever. That's the stuff of old, dusty novels. It began, as it always does, with a promise whispered into the ear of a frightened and exhausted public. Think back, not to some far-off dystopian future, but to yesterday, to the anxieties of your world right now, the amber alerts that flash on your phone, each one a tiny digital heartbreak. The breaking news banners that scroll across your screen, detailing another senseless tragedy at a school, a grocery store, a place of worship. The low, simmering fear of the unpredictable, the violent, the unknown. This is where they aimed the sales pitch, not at your liberty, but at your fear. After a series of national tragedies, the kind that leave deep psychic scars on a country, the solution was unveiled. It had a clean, reassuring, almost boring name: the Clear Act, the citizen ledger for enhanced authentication and response. It was a masterpiece of political branding. It sounded like something your accountant would come up with. Benign, bureaucratic, safe. On the news, you'd see a politician standing at a podium, their face a mask of earnest concern. Behind them, a crisp blue banner with the words, "A future without fear." The promise was irresistible. It was a silver bullet for the monsters under the bed. With the Clear Act, a missing child would be found not in days, not in hours, but in minutes. The system's network of cameras integrated into every traffic light, every storefront, every public building, would simply trace their path from the moment they vanished. An alert would ping the phone of an officer just a block away. The story would end in a tearful, happy reunion every time. They promised the end of mass casualty events. An individual on a watch list, their biometric data flagged, wouldn't be able to buy a weapon or walk into a crowded venue because the system would see them coming. It would lock the doors. It would alert authorities. It would intervene before the first shot was ever fired. It promised to stop the story before it could become a tragedy. And then came the sweetener, the part of the deal for everyone else, the convenience. Pay with your face, board a flight with a glance, unlock your front door, start your car, access your medical records, all with the unique, encrypted signature of your own biology. No more lost keys, no more forgotten passwords, no more identity theft. They sold it to us as the ultimate protection of our freedom, a shield to keep us safe so we could live our lives without fear. No one seemed to notice that the blueprint for the shield looked an awful lot like the blueprint for a cage. But hey, you could get through airport security in 30 seconds flat. And who doesn't hate fumbling for a boarding pass? Admit it, there's a part of you that hears all that and thinks, well, some of that does sound better, doesn't it? A little easier, a little safer. That's the insidious part. That's the hook. It always, always starts with convenience. The bill passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. The cameras went up almost overnight. They were sleek, unassuming little spheres of smoked glass on every lamppost, every awning, inside every bus. And at first, it seemed to work. The Amber Alerts that plagued the highways went silent. The airport lines evaporated. For a brief, shining moment, we felt safe. We felt seen. We just didn't realize we were being watched. And we had no idea what the system was truly learning to look for. The infrastructure itself was a thing of brutal, invisible elegance. We saw the cameras, of course. We got used to the little black domes hanging from ceilings like sleeping bats, the cylindrical sentinels on street corners that swiveled with silent, fluid precision. But that was just the skin of the machine. The nervous system, the real beast, lived underground, in vast humming server farms buried beneath deserts and tucked away in unassuming office parks. Miles of fiber optic cable, thick as a man's arm, became the new arteries of the nation, pumping a constant flowing river of data, a torrent of faces, gaits, and expressions into the ghost of the machine. It wasn't just a government project. That would have been too simple, too slow. The real genius, or the real horror, depending on your perspective, was how they made the private sector do the heavy lifting. The Clear Act came with the most irresistible incentive ever offered to corporate America: massive, glorious tax breaks. All a company had to do was integrate its existing camera systems into the national network and upgrade them to federal specifications. And so they did. In a shocking display of civic duty that just happened to align perfectly with their bottom line, every major corporation signed on. Your local grocery store, the gas station on the corner, the soulless big box retailer out by the highway, they all joined the network. It was a win-win. They got a taxpayer-funded security upgrade, and the government got millions of new eyes. Suddenly, the system wasn't just watching the streets. It was watching the cereal aisle. It was logging the brand of gasoline you bought. It was noting how long you lingered in front of the liquor cabinet. Your face became the ultimate loyalty card. Your biometric data, a commodity more valuable than your purchase history. You were the product, a walking, talking bundle of data points, and every transaction, every public appearance was another entry in your permanent, uneditable ledger. And here's the part where the beautiful, clean idea gets dirty. It always does, isn't it? The system, the all-seeing, artificially intelligent God they had built, was flawed. It had been trained on existing data sets, mountains of old photos and videos, and those data sets, like the world they came from, were biased. The algorithm, for all its processing power, learned the prejudices of its creators. The first reports were dismissed as glitches, anecdotes on social media, a man being locked out of his own apartment complex because the system flagged him as a non-resident, a woman whose payment for groceries was repeatedly denied, forcing her to abandon her cart in a wave of public humiliation. Frustrating, yes, but these were just bugs, they said. The engineers in Silicon Valley were working tirelessly to improve accuracy. But a pattern began to emerge. The glitches weren't random. They happened far more often in certain neighborhoods. They happened to people with darker skin. The error rate for identifying Black and Asian faces was exponentially higher than for white faces. This wasn't a bug, it was a feature, an emergent property of a system built on a flawed foundation. It created a quiet, insidious form of digital redlining, an algorithmic apartheid enforced not by signs or laws, but by cold, impartial code. Imagine you're a young man living in one of these neighborhoods. Your daily life becomes a game of chance. Will the subway turnstile open for you today? Will the corner store's automated system accuse you of shoplifting? You start to carry your old driver's license, a relic from the past, just in case the frictionless future decides to reject you. Then, one evening, it gets worse. You're walking home from work. A police cruiser rolls silently up beside you. The officer doesn't get out. He just looks at a screen mounted to his dashboard. He looks at you, then back at the screen. The system, he tells you, has flagged you. A person of interest alert. Your facial signature is a 78% match for someone who was in the vicinity of a robbery a few towns over 3 days ago.
You were at work. You can prove it. But that doesn't matter right now. The machine has spoken. And so you find yourself standing on a public sidewalk, hands on the hood of the car, as the officer performs his duty. He's not angry. He's not even suspicious. He's just processing. You are a task generated by the system. He's just closing the ticket. The horror isn't in the brief, dehumanizing stop. The real horror comes after he lets you go, with a polite, "have a good night." The real horror is knowing that the flag, the misidentification, the stop itself, has just been permanently appended to your citizen ledger. The glitch wasn't erased. It was recorded. From now on, your threat score, a number you'll never see, has ticked up a few points. The system now sees you as statistically more likely to be near a crime. And the ghost in the machine has learned to watch you just a little bit closer. You can't bottle a human instinct. You can't legislate it out of existence. And the instinct to hide, to seek the shadows, is as old as we are. It's the child playing hide and seek, the teenager sneaking out their window, the adult craving just 5 minutes of absolute solitude. When the state eliminates every shadow, people don't stop wanting to hide. They just start building their own. And so the black market was born. But this wasn't a marketplace for things you could hold. It didn't trade in guns or drugs. It traded in the most valuable and illicit commodity of the new age, animosity. It was a desperate, thriving underground industry built on the simple, powerful desire to not exist, even if only for an afternoon.
The tradecraft was a strange mix of high-tech and old-school espionage. It lived on encrypted message boards and whispered rumors in the few places the cameras couldn't quite see perfectly. The echoing concrete guts of underpasses, the crowded, chaotic aisles of weekend flea markets. The currency was untraceable crypto, and the purveyors were a new breed of criminal. They weren't thugs. They were disgruntled programmers, former network engineers, digital ghosts who knew the system's architecture because they had helped build it. They knew its blind spots, and they knew how to sell them. The simplest product and the most dangerous was the spoofer. It was often a wafer-thin, flexible screen, no bigger than a piece of paper, that you wore like a mask. It projected a looping, algorithmically generated face over your own. Not a real person, but a composite, a synthetic identity, just real enough to fool the cameras from a distance. The cheap ones were glitchy. The face would flicker at the edges. The eyes would sometimes lag a fraction of a second behind your own movements. Wearing one was a constant, nerve-shredding gamble. Every camera you walked past was a spin of the roulette wheel. For a higher price, you could buy a ghost identity. This was a deeper level of deception. An engineer would find a recently deceased person whose data hadn't yet been purged from the system, a John Doe, a transient. For a few hours, they could clone that digital identity and assign it to you. You could walk the city under a dead man's name.
your movements logged to a ghost's file. It was a ghoulish, temporary resurrection, but it was clean. The system would see you, log you, and never know you were there at all. The catch? You were on the clock. Sooner or later, the system would reconcile its records. The ghost would be reburied. And if you were still using his face, you wouldn't just be flagged. You'd be a digital desecrator, a Class A felony. Imagine being the buyer. You're not a criminal. You're a librarian or a mechanic. But maybe you want to attend a political rally that your employer would disapprove of. Maybe you're meeting a lover the world can't know about. Maybe you're just sick to death of being watched. So you make contact. The meet is in the back of a 24-hour laundromat. The air is thick with the smell of bleach and damp heat. The seller doesn't look at you. He just watches the tumbling clothes in a dryer. He slides a small metallic object across the folding table. A data scrambler. "Keep it in your pocket," he murmurs. It floods the immediate area with junk biometric data, creating a small localized fog that confuses nearby cameras. It'll reduce your ID certainty score from 99% to maybe 60%. Not enough to make you invisible, but enough to introduce doubt, a reasonable doubt. It costs a month's salary, and the battery only lasts for 2 hours.
The psychological toll was the real price. The constant, gnawing paranoia. Is this spoofer working? Did the seller put a tracker in this scrambler? Is this whole transaction a sting operation? You begin to see cameras everywhere, even where there are none. You scrutinize the movements of every stranger, wondering if they're an observer, a plainclothes agent of the system. You are buying freedom, but the cost is living in a permanent state of fear, a self-imposed prison of anxiety far worse than the one you were trying to escape. Spontaneity, the very thing you were trying to reclaim, is impossible. Every step is calculated. Every glance is a risk assessment. And this was the ultimate cruel irony. The system had promised a world without fear, but in doing so, it had made fear the constant, silent companion of anyone who dared to remember what it felt like to be free. You couldn't just take a walk anymore. If you wanted to be nobody, you had to plan it like a bank heist. You had to risk everything for a few precious hours of being a ghost. And you had to wonder, as you walked out of that laundromat with a warm piece of illegal tech in your pocket, if you'd just bought your freedom, or if you'd just bought a ticket to a far more terrifying cage. The true horror wasn't the spectacular failure of the system. It wasn't the wrongful arrests or the digital ghosts. Those were stories you read about, things that happened to other people. The true horror was quieter. It was the system working perfectly. It was the slow, methodical, and flawless erosion of a fundamental human experience, the ability to be nobody. Try to remember it, the feeling of being in a crowd before. You're walking through a city square. A sea of faces flows around you, a river of humanity. You are an anonymous drop in that river. You could look angry. You could look sad.
You could be humming a stupid song under your breath. You could stop and watch a street performer, or you could just stare into space, lost in thought. You were blessedly, beautifully insignificant. That insignificance was a kind of freedom. The crowd was a sanctuary, a place where the individual could dissolve just for a moment and be part of a larger, unthinking, unjudging whole. That sanctuary is gone now. It's been bulldozed and paved over. Now, when you walk into that same city square, the feeling is completely different. The air is thinner. Every space is a stage. Every person is an actor, hyper-aware of the invisible audience. The cameras perched on the rooftops and lampposts are the critics. You are performing the part of a model citizen. So is everyone else.
You see a mother smiling at her child, but the smile is just a little too wide, held a fraction of a second too long. Is it genuine, or is she conscious of the fact that public displays of good parenting positively affect her family's social rating? You see a group of teenagers laughing, but their laughter doesn't quite reach their eyes. They are performing carefree youth, careful not to be too loud, not to gesture too aggressively, lest the system's behavioral analysis flag them for potential antisocial tendencies. The street performer is still there, but now the people watching him are all carefully curating their reactions. They applaud politely. They drop a digital tip with a tap of their phone. No one looks bored. No one walks away mid-performance. That would be rude, and rudeness is now a data point. You can't people watch anymore because there are no people left to watch. There are only avatars, public-facing versions of individuals all engaged in a silent collective performance. The strange, messy, unpredictable beauty of the human swarm has been replaced by the quiet, orderly hum of a well-managed server farm. And the most terrifying part is that you're doing it too. You are an actor, just like them. You keep your expression neutral, pleasant. You walk at a steady, unthreatening pace. You consciously stop yourself from scowling when someone bumps into you. A flash of anger, a muttered curse, that isn't a fleeting moment of frustration anymore. It's a permanent entry in a log file. It's a keyword: anger, public disturbance, minor aggression. And that keyword will follow you forever. Think about that. The last time you felt a surge of rage in traffic. The last time you cried on a subway platform after a bad day. The last time you laughed at a wildly inappropriate joke with a friend in a cafe. Now imagine those moments are no longer memories that fade. Imagine they are immortal, archived, analyzed, and cross-referenced, accessible in any future background check for a job, pulled as evidence of your character in a court case, used by a loan officer to determine if you're too emotionally volatile for a mortgage. The spontaneity of being human becomes a liability. Your own face becomes your warden. You start to police your own thoughts, because what if a thought slips out? What if your mask of pleasant neutrality flickers for just a second? The psychological weight of that is immense. It's a quiet, crushing claustrophobia.
You are trapped inside your own skull, constantly monitoring the line between your inner self and your public performance. There is no longer an off the record. To be in public is to be recorded. To be recorded is to be judged. And to be judged is to be permanently defined by your worst, most fleeting moments. The system never forgets. It never forgives. It just adds another line to your file.
You sit on a park bench, wanting nothing more than to feel the sun on your face and disappear. But you can't. You can feel the silent, cold gaze of the cameras. You are acutely aware of your own posture, the expression on your face. And you have to wonder, as you perform person relaxing in a park, what happens to the real you? The one who might want to scream or cry or just look utterly, beautifully miserable. Where does that person get to live? And if you have to hide that person away every single time you step outside your door, how long before they disappear? It happens on a Tuesday, the most forgettable day of the week. You're walking home from the train station. The sky is the color of a bruised plum, that last dim light before full dark. It was a long day. You're tired, your feet ache. Your mind is a million miles away, chewing on a stupid comment a coworker made, planning what you'll make for dinner. You're not paying attention. You're just moving through the world on autopilot. You don't even remember the moment it happened, the point of divergence. There was a sound, maybe, a car horn, a shout. You might have turned your head for a second, a flicker of a glance down a side street, before your thoughts returned to whatever mundane track they were on. You arrive home, you eat, you watch something meaningless on a screen, and you fall asleep. The day dissolves, as it should, into the forgettable past. 3 days later, you get the notification. It's not a phone call, it's not a knock on the door. It's an email from the Clear Regional Office. The subject line is sterile, mandatory record verification, file number 734-B. The language inside is coldly polite. Your presence has been requested to clarify a data inconsistency logged on Tuesday evening. A time and an address are provided. It's not a request. It's a summons wrapped in the soft, bloodless language of corporate bureaucracy. You feel a knot of ice in your stomach, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you know, instinctively, that it doesn't matter. The system has found an error in your code, and you have been called in for debugging. The office is in a gleaming, anonymous glass tower downtown. The lobby is silent, white, and smells faintly of ozone. There are no receptionists, only automated kiosks. You scan your face, a pleasant synthesized voice directs you to the 27th floor, and a specific elevator dings open for you. The whole process is frictionless and utterly dehumanizing. The room is small. It's not an interrogation room, it's a consultation suite. There's no two-way mirror, just a sleek table and 2 comfortable chairs. A man in a crisp, simple uniform, more like a lab tech than a cop, sits across from you. He smiles, a professional, empty smile. He's an analyst. He has a screen, and on that screen is your life from Tuesday evening. A dotted line traces your path from the train station to your front door. It's perfect. It shows your walking speed, the elevation changes, the ambient temperature. It even has your heart rate, collected from the discrete health sensors on the lampposts that monitor public wellness. So, he begins, his voice calm, let's look at 8:47 p.m. Right here. He points to a spot on the map. The system logs you pausing for 3.2 seconds, and your heart rate increased by 15 beats per minute. Can you tell me why? You stare at the screen. You try to remember. What were you doing at 8:47? Have you ever tried to remember a specific 3-second window of a walk you took 3 days ago? It's an impossible task. I don't know, you stammer. Maybe I saw something? A cat, maybe? Or I stopped to tie my shoe? The analyst makes a note. His expression doesn't change. The system logged no stray animals in that sector, he says flatly, and your gait telemetry shows no significant downward movement consistent with tying a shoe. It does, however, show your head turning sharply 45 degrees to the left toward alleyway C. He brings up a wireframe model of the street. Why were you looking down that alley? The icy knot in your stomach tightens. I don't remember. I maybe heard a noise? A hit and run occurred in that alley. The analyst says, his voice still perfectly level. A pedestrian was struck. The vehicle fled. The incident took place at 8:47 p.m., exactly when your heart rate spiked and you looked in that direction. And there it is. The reason you're here. You weren't a suspect. You weren't even a witness. You were just a piece of data that didn't fit the narrative. You were a glitch. The horror isn't that they think you did it. They don't. The horror is that your version of the truth, the messy, human, forgetful truth, is now irrelevant. It carries no weight. All that matters is the data, and the data says you were there. The data says you were agitated. The data says you looked. In the cold, binary logic of the machine, your presence and your biometrics create a high probability correlation. You are not innocent. You are a statistical risk. The analyst closes his screen. Thank you for your cooperation, he says, the empty smile returning. Your file has been updated to reflect this correlation. A social responsibility flag has been appended to your record. Have a good day. You walk out of the building and back into the sunlight, but the world looks different. You are free to go, but you are not free. A permanent, invisible asterisk is now attached to your name, to your face, and you know with a sickening certainty that this is only the beginning. The machine saw you, and it will never, ever stop watching you now. The change isn't a sudden cataclysm. It's a slow, quiet turning of a dial, a gradual tightening of a screw you didn't even know was there. The world you lived in yesterday is technically still here. The streets are the same, the buildings haven't moved, but it no longer recognizes you. You have become a foreign object in your own life. It begins the very next morning at the coffee shop, the same one where payments used to be invisible magic. You order your coffee, the barista prepares it, you go to leave. But this time, a small, discreet red light blinks on the terminal. The transaction is declined. A soft, automated voice, devoid of any emotion, says, "Payment authentication failed. Please use an alternative method." The barista, a kid in his early 20s, doesn't meet your eye. He looks embarrassed for you. You fumble for your physical debit card, a dusty artifact you haven't used in years, and pay. The simple act feels clumsy, archaic, almost shameful. It's a small thing, a tiny moment of friction in a world that promised to be frictionless. But it's a message. The system is speaking to you. It's telling you that you are no longer a trusted node in the network. Later that day, you arrive at your office. For years, you've walked through the lobby doors, and they've slid open for you, the system recognizing your face and granting you access. Today, they remain shut. You push against the heavy glass, confused, nothing. A security guard, a real human one, approaches you, his expression a mixture of pity and professional detachment. He has to check your physical ID badge against a list. Systems flagging you for manual verification today, he says, shrugging as if he's talking about the weather. The invisible asterisk on your file is starting to cast a very real shadow. You learn the new term for your condition in a meeting with human resources. The HR manager, a woman who has always been friendly, now sits across the desk from you with a rigid posture. She can't tell you the details, that's classified. But she informs you that due to your updated civic profile, your access to sensitive company projects has been revoked. Your role is being laterally reassessed. It's a demotion, scrubbed clean with corporate jargon. "It's just a precaution," she says, refusing to look at you directly. The company's insurance premiums are tied to the aggregate risk score of its employees. It's a simple matter of liability management. And there it is. You are a liability. A number that is costing your company money. You are a walking, breathing, rounding error. The psychological pressure begins to mount. You become obsessed with that 3.2-second window. You replay it in your mind over and over, a maddening, endless loop. What did you see? What did you hear? You start to invent memories, desperate to fill the blank space. Was it a car backfiring? A bottle breaking? You consider going back to the regional office to offer them these fabricated scraps, anything to make the flag go away. But you know it's useless. The system doesn't care about your memories. It only cares about its own. The worst part, the part that truly breaks you, is the silence. A friend you were supposed to meet for lunch cancels at the last minute. A family member's calls become less frequent. It's subtle. No one ever says a word about it, but you feel it. A cooling, a distance. You realize with a dawning, sickening dread that your flag isn't just visible to the system. It's visible to the people connected to you. They have their own scores to protect. Association with a flagged individual, a person with a social responsibility deficit, is a risk.
Your taint might be contagious. So you become an island. The system hasn't imprisoned you in a cell of steel and concrete. It has done something far more effective. It has built a prison of social isolation around you. And it has tricked everyone you know into becoming your jailers. You can walk the streets, you can breathe the air, but you are utterly, completely alone. You are a ghost haunting the edges of a world that is doing its very best to pretend you no longer exist. You are no longer a person. You are a problem to be managed. Have you ever had a dream where you're trying to scream, but no sound comes out? You feel the pressure build in your chest, your throat strains, but all that emerges is a dry, rasping silence? Your body is trying to act, to fight, but the world of the dream has simply muted you. That's what your life becomes, a silent scream. The final, quiet humiliation happens in the public library, the one place you thought would be a refuge. You've always loved the smell of old paper and stillness. But when you try to pass through the security gates, they don't open. Your face, which once could borrow any book in this building, is now no better than a blank wall. The system has revoked your access to the quiet, shared knowledge of the world. You are flagged as a civic liability, and therefore you are no longer welcome in the company of books. You are too risky for a library. The absurdity of it is a special kind of cruelty.
That night, something inside you breaks, not with a loud snap, but with a dull, sickening crumble. You can't appeal. You can't explain. You can't wait for the system to absolve you. To the machine, you are a rounding error, a piece of corrupted data, and it is slowly, methodically quarantining you from the network. The isolation is no longer a side effect. You realize it's the primary function. It's how the system corrects its errors. It doesn't delete you. It just makes it impossible for you to exist. And so you decide to do the one thing you have left to do. You decide to run. Not by packing a bag and leaving town. There is no town to run to where the cameras aren't. You have to run from your own face. You have to find the black market. How do you find something that's invisible when you yourself are under a microscope? You can't use a search engine, that's a confession. You can't ask around, that's a public announcement. You have to go analog. You have to think like a creature from a forgotten time. You start spending time in the city's gray spaces, the places where the network's gaze is weakest, the sprawling, chaotic weekend flea markets, where the sheer density of faces and jumbled merchandise can sometimes overwhelm the local processors. The shadowy underbellies of the freeway overpasses. You learn to look for the signs. A piece of graffiti that isn't art, but a string of code. A vendor selling old, useless electronics who holds your gaze just a second too long. It's a world of excruciating paranoia. You feel like you're losing your mind. Every person who bumps into you is an agent. Every siren is for you. You feel the constant, passive watchfulness of the cameras on your skin like a low-grade fever. You are a mouse trying to hide from a hawk that owns the entire sky. After 2 weeks of this nerve-shredding search, you find him. In the back of an all-night diner, a place that smells of stale coffee and grease. He's a man who looks utterly forgettable, which is, of course, the point. You whisper the code you found, a nonsense phrase about a blue canary. He doesn't even look up from his newspaper. He just nods toward the back door. The meeting happens in an alley slick with restaurant grime. The air hangs thick and heavy. He looks at you, his eyes tired and bored. He's seen 1,000 desperate people just like you. To him, you're not a freedom fighter. You're just a customer with a problem. "What do you want?" he asks, his voice a low monotone. "I need to be someone else," you say, the words feeling pathetic and small. He almost smirks. He pulls a small, smooth, dark object from his pocket. It looks like a pebble. "This is a 2-hour ghost," he says. "Sinks to a dormant profile. Clean, temporary. You activate it, you get 120 minutes. After that, the profile evaporates. If you're still on the street when it does, the system will tag you with a level 1 identity fraud alert. You won't just be a liability anymore. You'll be a fugitive. Understand?" You nod, your throat too dry to speak. You transfer the untraceable crypto from a burner phone. The cost is everything you have left. He places the cold, heavy pebble in your hand. "Good luck," he says, with no sincerity at all. "Don't get caught." And then he's gone, melting back into the shadows. You're left standing alone in the alley, the smells of the city closing in around you. You're holding a dead man's face in the palm of your hand. You have purchased 2 hours of invisibility at the cost of potential permanent annihilation. And now, the only question left is, was it worth it? You stand in that alley for what feels like an eternity, the world outside rushing past in a blur of headlights and sirens. The ghost pebble in your hand is heavy, dense, and colder than the night air. It feels like a piece of a tombstone. This is the point of no return. You are holding your own erasure in the palm of your hand. What are you supposed to do? There's no instruction manual. You just press it. You close your hand around the pebble, your thumb finding a small, almost imperceptible depression on its surface. You squeeze. There's no click, no flash of light, no sound. For a second, you think the man scammed you, that you traded everything you had for a worthless rock. But then you feel it. It's not a physical sensation, it's a subtraction, a sudden, profound silence in a place you never knew there was noise.
It's the feeling of 1,000 invisible threads which had been attached to you your entire life, being snipped all at once. The constant, low-level hum of being observed, a hum you had grown so used to you no longer noticed it, is gone. The silence it leaves behind is deafening, terrifying. It's the digital equivalent of going blind. You are untethered, a phantom. For the first time in years, you have no idea if anyone is watching you, because you know, with a chilling certainty, that if they are, they aren't seeing you. You take a shaky breath and step out of the alley. The street is the same, the people are the same, but you are a ghost walking through their world. Your heart is hammering against your ribs. You need to test it. You need to know.
You walk toward a corner store, your steps stiff, unnatural. The camera above the door is a single, unblinking eye. You force yourself to look right at it. You meet its gaze, and it feels nothing. There's no flicker of recognition, no micro-adjustment of its lens. To the machine, you are a patch of pixels with no associated file. You are static. You are a glitch in the pattern, a piece of data it can't parse and has already discarded. A wave of vertigo washes over you. It worked. The exhilaration is so sharp, so powerful, it's almost indistinguishable from terror. You have 2 hours, 120 minutes, a countdown timer on your own existence. What do? You do the most rebellious thing you can think of. You walk into a 24-hour cafe. The camera over the door ignores you. You approach the counter, your movements feeling fluid and free for the first time in months. You order a black coffee. You pay with cash, a crinkled bill you've kept tucked away. The transaction is beautifully, gloriously anonymous. You take the cup, find a small table in the corner, and you sit. And you watch. You see the other patrons. They are all still performing. A young couple on a date, laughing at each other's jokes with just a little too much enthusiasm. A man reading a book, his face a careful mask of intellectual focus. They are prisoners, and they don't even know it. You are the only free person in this room, and you are completely invisible. The feeling is godlike, and it is the loneliest feeling you have ever known. You take a sip of the coffee. It tastes more real, more potent than anything you've tasted in years. This is what it was like. This is what they took from you. Not just the big things, but the small moments. The ability to sit in a cafe, nursing a cheap coffee, and just be a sad, tired person in a room full of other sad, tired people. You leave the cafe and just walk. You walk for nearly an hour with no destination, no purpose. You let your face do whatever it wants. You scowl at the sidewalk. You smile at a stray thought. You let your mask fall away, and the relief is a physical release, like dropping a 100-pound weight you didn't know you were carrying. Then you feel it. A subtle warmth in your pocket, the pebble. At first, you think it's just your body heat, but the warmth is growing, a faint but steady increase.
a low, cold dread begins to creep back in, extinguishing the warmth of your brief freedom. The ghost is starting to burn out. The magic is fading. You check your watch. You still have 20 minutes left. But the warmth in your pocket is undeniable now. You are in the middle of a crowded plaza, miles from where you started, surrounded by 1,000 cameras. The ticking clock is no longer a metaphor. You can feel it, a rising heat against your leg, counting down the last seconds of your second life. You are a tourist in the land of the living, and your visa is about to expire. You are out of time.
Panic is a physical thing. It's a hot, metallic taste in the back of your throat. It's a tightening in your chest, so violent you think your ribs will crack. The pebble in your pocket is no longer warm. It's hot, a burning coal against your skin. The countdown isn't just on your watch anymore. It's being seared into your flesh. You have to move, now. But you can't run. Running is a confession. In a world where every pedestrian's gait is analyzed for normalcy, a sudden sprint is the equivalent of a flare fired into the night sky. It's a behavioral alarm that will bring the system's attention crashing down on you before the ghost even has a chance to fully dissipate. So you walk. You force your legs, which want to fly, into a controlled, steady pace. You are performing citizen walking calmly, while every nerve fiber in your body is screaming at you to flee. This is the ultimate test of the actor. You have to look like one of them, one of the placid, predictable sheep, while inside, the wolf of pure animal terror is tearing you apart. The crowd in the plaza, which seconds ago was a source of detached observation, is now a nightmare. It's a thick, slow-moving river of molasses, and you are trying to swim upstream. People amble. They stop to look at screens. They move with the unhurried, dreamlike rhythm of the constantly observed. Every person who bumps into you, every slow-walking group you have to navigate around, is another second stolen from your dwindling escape. You feel a flicker, a nauseating, momentary glitch in your perception. For a split second, the beautiful, terrifying silence is gone, and the hum of the network crashes back into your senses. You instinctively look up and see a camera on a nearby building pivot slightly, its lens seeming to catch yours for a microsecond before swinging away. Was that real, or are you losing your mind? The heat in your pocket is unbearable now. You can smell burning fabric. The pebble is dying. You are maybe 3 blocks from a subway entrance, 3 blocks of open-air prison, 3 blocks to run a gauntlet of 1,000 unblinking eyes. You push through the crowd, your movements becoming jerkier, your performance of calm beginning to fray at the edges. You can feel the sweat beading on your forehead. You are halfway down the block when it happens. It's not a fade, it's a snap. One moment, you are a ghost. The next, you are the most visible person on the planet.
The sensation is a physical blow. The silence doesn't just end. It shatters into a billion razor-sharp pieces. It's the feeling of every camera, every sensor, every node in the city's network, all of them locking on to your exact position in the exact same nanosecond. The background hum of observation doesn't return. It returns as a deafening, soul-crushing roar.
You are an impossibility, a mathematical error, a person who has just materialized out of thin air, with no preceding data trail, in the middle of the most monitored plaza in the city. You are a paradox, and the machine, the entire city-spanning ghost of the machine, despises a paradox. You stumble, clutching your head, the sensory overload making the world spin. Everything changes. The advertisements on the massive video billboards that line the plaza flicker and die, replaced by a stark, neutral gray. The pleasant, ambient music piped onto the street cuts to silence. A police drone, which had been circling lazily 1,000 feet up, drops from the sky like a hawk, its electric motors whining as it descends, its camera lens glowing a furious, analytical red. Everyone in the crowd stops. They turn to look at you, their faces a mixture of confusion and fear. They don't know what's happening, but they know you are the epicenter of it. You are the glitch. You are the reason the world just broke. You are completely, utterly exposed. You stand frozen, pinned in place by the sudden, focused attention of the entire world. The drone hovers 30 feet above your head, its gaze a physical weight. Then, the public address system crackles to life. The calm, synthesized voice that usually announces weather warnings or holiday greetings fills the plaza. But it only says 2 words. A command, delivered with the cold, absolute authority of a god. Remain still. You don't breathe. You don't think. You simply exist in the frozen, silent moment, a statue in a courtyard of terrified mannequins. The drone's low electric thrum is the only sound in the universe, a mechanical heartbeat counting down the last seconds of your life as a free-willed entity. The eye of the machine is upon you, and its gaze is absolute. The panic is gone. The terror has burned itself out, leaving behind a strange and hollow calm. It's the calm of terminal acceptance. The fight is over. You ran, and you lost. And in the silent digital courtroom of the system, there are no appeals. There is only sentencing. The crowd parts, not in a panicked rush, but with a slow, deliberate shuffle, creating a wide, sterile circle around you. They are not running from you. They are isolating you. Their faces, illuminated by the screens of the phones they are now all holding up, are not angry, not compassionate. They are curious. You are no longer one of them. You are a spectacle, a public service announcement in flesh and blood. You are a live stream of what you try to unplug.
Two people emerge from the parted crowd. They don't wear uniforms, not in the old sense. They wear simple gray coveralls, the kind worn by maintenance workers or technicians. They move with an unnerving, placid efficiency. They are the system's antibodies, and you are the infection they have been dispatched to cleanse.
They don't speak to you. They don't look you in the eye. They approach you as if you are a piece of dangerous, unpredictable machinery. One of them holds a small, flat device, and you watch as a light on it blinks green, a confirmation. He nods to his partner. The second one produces a pair of cuffs, but they are not made of steel. They are smooth, black composite bands. As he reaches for your wrists, you don't resist. What would be the point? He doesn't grab you roughly. His touch is firm, impersonal, like a doctor setting a bone. He snaps the first band around your wrist, and a searing, electric cold shoots up your arm. It's not pain, it's information. You feel a violent, invasive digital handshake. You feel the system flooding your nervous system, cataloging you, indexing you, overwriting you. It's a violation more profound than any physical blow. The device is not just restraining you, it's plugging you back in. It's a hard reset, and you are the corrupted file being forcibly rewritten. He snaps the second cuff on. The circuit is complete. The low hum of the drone overhead stops. The gray billboards flicker back to life, displaying vibrant, happy ads. The ambient music returns. The system has corrected its error. The world is back to normal. You are now just a package, ready for shipping. They turn you and begin to walk. The crowd watches you go, a forest of phones tracking your every step. This is your final performance, the walk of shame. The technicians guide you toward an unmarked van that has pulled up silently to the curb. There are no sirens, no flashing lights. Everything is quiet, efficient, seamless. Just another piece of city logistics being handled. As they lead you away, you look back at the faces in the crowd. You search for a flicker of sympathy, of anger, of anything. But you find nothing. Just the blank, passive consumption of 1,000 observers. In their eyes, you are already gone. You have been unpersoned. Your file is closed. And here, in this final moment, as the doors of the van are about to close you away from the world forever, you understand your real crime. It wasn't using a ghost. It wasn't identity fraud. Your real crime, your unforgivable sin, was that you demanded the right to be forgotten. You tried to tear a single page out of the universal, permanent record. But in a world that archives everything, a world where to exist is to be recorded, what's the difference between being forgotten and being deleted?